Hello everybody and welcome back. This week we're going to see if we can get my 1929 Ford Model AA to finally move under its own power. Now if you saw previously on an episode, I drug this thing home out of a barn where it had been sitting for 30 some plus years, got it running, the valves were stuck, had to do a lot of engine work. This thing runs beautifully, but it will not move. I think either our transmission or the underdrive unit's locked up on this thing, so today we're going to see if we can get it to move around and drive it around the yard under its own power. Now before we can do all of that, I need to take you back in time a little bit, because I went through and drained on this tank, tried to clean up all the fuel lines to get this thing to run off its own tank instead of the boat tank. And well, that had some of the nastiest, most varnished fuel that I've ever seen. So let's hop back in time and show you what I had to go through to get this thing to run off of that tank. So as you can see, the AA has really not moved or gone anywhere since the last video. The drive line's still locked up on it. That rear tire over there is flat. Just kind of threw a tarp on there to keep some of the rain out. But I'd really like to be able to get this thing moving under its own power. Some things I did manage to do here is get that gas cap free. If you remember, that thing was stuck on there good, just like the radiator cap was. Ended up putting some vice grips on there that had pretty large ones. And with a mallet was able to just kind of beat it around, and took me about 20 minutes from beating it with the hammer to finally get that off of there. The tank has quite a bit of some kind of rancid fluid in it. Maybe it was fuel at one point in its life. It is no longer. So I was trying to get that drained out of there, opened up the sediment bowl and everything else, and it's all nice and clean, but it's bone dry in there. There's nothing getting to it. Tried blowing back through the tank with some compressed air. Absolutely nothing. So we're gonna have to try to get that shutoff valve pulled out of there and the petcock pulled out, and see if maybe that's gonna be where our clog is. See if we can get it to drain from there. So that's what we're out here to try right now. So let's get this tarp out of the way. Had an influx of traffic right there all of a sudden. So let's get this tarp out of the way. See if we can get that shutoff valve out of here, get whatever is in this thing drained out, and take a peek at that tank, see what kind of rust situation we've got going on. Try to get some of that rust taken care of. So I grabbed us a big old kitty litter bucket there where we can drain everything in, but just need to get the fuel line here out of the way first. Hopefully there won't be anything fun in there that'll leak out. Then I'll be able to get that shutoff valve over here pulled out of this thing. Alright, so I've got the shutoff valve here loose. Let's see what kind of mess I can make. Not much apparently. But wow, does that stink. Oh boy. So coming out of there pretty slow, but you can just kind of see it's pretty stinky. So flow was pretty restrictive coming out of there, and I ended up pulling this out of the very end of the fuel tank, and to me that looks like the very end of one of those pencil filters that you'd usually install in there. So there's probably the screen stuck up there somewhere, but this thing was just nasty, gross. We're getting almost no flow out of that tank whatsoever. And once I pulled this out of there, now you can see it's coming out of there pretty good, but it is absolutely rancid. It just smells like turpentine or something like that. This is just horrible, horrible smell. So we're gonna let that drain, because as you can see, there's a lot in there, and it's just going and going and going. So we're gonna let that drain and get an idea of what this tank looks like. Hopefully it won't be in too bad a condition. There's just maybe some, I don't know, some of that nasty fuel in there, but maybe it saved it on the tank. We're gonna find out, because when I tried to look in there, there was just too much fluid really to even see what the condition was. But finding this in there doesn't particularly bode very well, and that thing was pretty plugged up there with almost like a tar-like substance. So we'll see what it looks like. So I've left the tank open here to just dry out and try to evaporate some of that remaining varnish in there, but the tank itself is really not in all that bad a condition. Really the only rust I could see was right here at the front around the fuel gauge. There's a lot of sediment and crud just at the bottom of the tank, but really no rust anywhere else on the sides, the top, nothing like that. Looks like it'll be a good tank for us, but can't really hit it with vinegar and acid just yet, because I can't really get any of it out. Typically you're going to want to put that in there, flush everything around a bit, and then dump it out the fill neck. It's not really going to want to come out the tiny little hole there for the petcock. So what I'm going to go ahead and do right now, because I want to get this running as it is, just so I can move it around, is just install a new shutoff valve here with a pencil filter in it. And these little pencil filters are fantastic. So that little guy is just going to stick up in there just a little bit. I'm going to try to get it lowered down on the actual petcock here. And that sediment will just kind of sit around the bottom of the screen here, and then fuel will just still be able to flow in through the top. So they work out great to keep a lot of that crud out of there. Some of the fine crap will still get down in there, but we're not going to be going far with this thing or doing much with it. We just want to be able to get it up and running on its own fuel tank so I can move it around. So I'm going to go ahead and get this installed in there, see if we've got some good flow, see if we can get a battery back in here, see if it'll fire up. It's been about a month, maybe a month and a half since it last ran. Don't think we'll have any problems with it, but if that all goes good, we'll come back here and try to get this tire changed out. Everything should be all set here to get this thing to refire. We've got the fuel line and everything hooked up on the carburetor there on the other side. Looks like we're getting flow there, so hopefully that'll be enough to at least get us running for now. I'm gonna go ahead, hook up my ignition here, and we'll give this thing a go and see if she'll start up for us. Fired up again, nice and easy there. Just had to give it a tiny little bit of choke, a little bit of hand throttle, and she fired right up. Running absolutely beautifully here. A lot of vibration in the truck just from the body not being fully assembled and things like that, but seems to run really nice. I do need to get some water back in here. I drained that all out just because when I first got this going, the weather was getting pretty cold at night. I think we're okay now. So I'm gonna go ahead and top her off with water. I think I got a couple of fuel leaks to take care of over there on the other side. I think our big issues are either gonna be this transmission itself or the underdrive unit located right directly behind it. Now I think some water got in both of these units, so I'm gonna go ahead, drain out whatever's in here, probably rinse it with some kerosene, acetone, something like that right quick. Just kind of splash it around in there, shake the truck a bit. Let it drain back out, and then we'll top her right back off again, and hopefully that'll help break this thing free. Now, before you go taking your drain plug out, it's always a good idea to come over on this side. Make sure you can get your fill plug loose. It's never good to drain on it if you can't get anything back in it, so I've already gone ahead making sure I could break that loose. I've got this broken loose a little bit already, so let's go ahead and see what kind of surprises we find in here. And I thought this was just a 9/16, but it's tight on there. Well, I don't see any water pouring out yet. Oh, there it comes. So usually if you just start to unthread it but don't take it all the way off, all that water sits on the bottom and it'll start making its way out first. And as you can see, there's water in there. And quite a bit of it by the looks. Oh dear Lord. That was nothing but water. Not what you want to see in your transmission, folks. Yeah, we're probably gonna have to be pulling this one apart, but just hoping we can get it to break free just enough to move it. I'm probably gonna end up putting a different transmission in here, but yeah, that was a lot worse than what I expected. So now let's move back a couple of feet here and try to get the underdrive unit as well. All right, let's see what kind of surprises wait for us inside of this. Now this here is the underdrive unit. You can have a PTO, I believe, off of this section here. There's just the cover plate on it. And the later models, they had the 4-speed, and the PTO cover was actually on the transmission itself. What are your bets on this thing having more water than the Trans did? Well, there it comes. Man, we are facing a losing battle here, I think. That is a lot of water in both units. Alright, so I think I'm going to put the plugs back in, load them up with some kerosene, ATF, acetone mix, shake the truck around a bunch, and maybe just try to drain it out and go from there. Alright, so I've gone ahead and loaded these things up a couple of times, shook the vehicle back and forth, flushed it out of there. Got it probably as clean as I'm going to be able to without disassembling things. So now it's time to go ahead and add some oil to this, and I'm not going to put new oil in here, that would be a waste. So I've got some slightly used here, 600W oil. It's not 600 weight, that would be way too thick. This is just kind of the rating that Ford had back in the day for these things. It's just kind of a thick consistency oil, probably closer to like a 250 weight, somewhere in that range, but just got some that I've drained out of my other Model A's over the years of routine service. I just keep it on hand just in case, the leftover stuff, because it works out perfect in a situation like this where you just need some oil. Doesn't matter how good it is, anything's gonna be better than water in there. So gonna go ahead and get these units both topped up, and then we'll see if we can get this thing to move. So in case anyone was wondering, traditionally the fill tube for that underdrive unit actually comes up underneath the seat through that little hole right there, and well, as you can see, ours is missing. You can see the underdrive unit down beneath there, and the hole is just wide open, so that explains why so much water is getting down into there. So I've got oil in both the underdrive unit and the transmission now. Let's go ahead and put the floorboard in here so I've got somewhere to actually rest my foot as I try to work the throttle on this. It's a bit tricky when your foot's just floating in air. And then we'll see if we can get it fired up and see if we can get it to move. So I got my floor back installed again, and this here is what actually controls the underdrive. You just kind of rock this little foot pedal thing here back and forth. I don't remember if down in the back is underdrive or if down in the front is underdrive, so no idea what it's in right now. But we're just going to go ahead and give it a try and see if we can get this thing to move. Let's see what happens. All right, let's see if we can get this thing fired up again here and see if we can get it to finally move. Fuel is on. Let's go. Oh, she just purrs. Way too slow of an idle at the moment. Yeah, so pretty much everything on the truck vibrates, so be prepared for it to be a bit noisy, unfortunately. Alright, so let's go ahead and try to rock her back and forth a little bit and see what happens. Feels like it wants to. It's rocking a little bit. Come on. Oh, it almost had it. Oh, it's so so close. I think it's starting to get free. I'm gonna go ahead and just check and make sure that one of the wheels isn't locked up or something like that, and then we'll give it a try again, but I think she's gonna go. All right, so I've been working her back and forth. I kind of got her to actually move a little bit. I've got her twisted, trying to get her facing into the yard, and let's go for a little ride. She's actually starting to roll pretty good now. Oop. Cut between the trees. Okay, I hear a horrible sound when we get kind of going a little bit fast there. Maybe that's the underdrive. Let's try to push this pedal forward instead. See what see what happens. Well, it's definitely doing things. Holes back here, so I gotta be careful. All right, so I don't know if that's the underdrive or if that's in regular, but she moves pretty slow, like there's a lot of drag. I think my floorboard here is keeping it out of the gear. Let's go in reverse. See how that does. So as you can tell, I'm a bit too large for this thing. Oh, big hole. Kind of starts to complain if I turn a little too sharp. I feel like this must be underdrive. She's crawling. Go do another lap. Don't hit the Corvette. As you can tell, I'm having a lot of fun going absolutely nowhere, but hey. I have no idea how much fuel is in here, by the way, so probably just gonna end up dying in the middle of the yard somewhere. Oh, it is definitely as bumpy as I remember AA's being. And sitting on this board is not helping any. I'm sorry. Forgot tight turns and nothing like it. It's crazy. crazy how good this thing runs for having sat for as long as it did. Having stuck valves and everything else, and it runs beautifully. Momentum to turn us this time. All right, that was an absolute blast. Now I got to figure out how to turn this thing off since I don't have an ignition key. I just have my ignition hardwired, so I'm just gonna have to pull the battery cable. Ah, my shirt's stuck. Oh, I think my shirt just ripped. So I don't know about you, but I've not had that much fun in an old vehicle in quite some time. That was an absolute blast. So this thing had been sitting off the road for 40 some years before I bought it, and just be able to get it to move around the yard under its own power, it runs so good. A whole lot of fun. So that's going to do it this week. I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you again on the next one.